Hi guys, this is Mr. Tan, and today we're doing hospitality operations, and we're kind of looking at again the standard operating procedures in terms of accommodation services, and we're looking at obviously the industry of the hotel industry. And as we've mentioned before, you have the general manager and then the operations manager, and the operations manager will be in charge of a variety of different managers depending upon the size of the hotel. And one obviously would be the front office and the front desk. So in terms of the session overview, why hospitality operations fail. And if we think about, the operations manager, he's going to be in charge of the daily running of all the operations and all the different departments within a hotel. So we'll be looking at why do some operations fail. And, parts of a business could be working well, but then other parts in the business could not be working well. We'll be looking at standards, business process, standard operating procedures, shift checklists, and an activity. So why do hospitality operations fail? Why do you think that hospitality operations may fail? Design of the service package. Operation management systems do not match the concept. Management does not meet the required standards. Equipment failure. And so what should the manager do to mitigate this? So if we think about it, in terms of determinants of service quality, there are various determinants, which includes the access, includes the communication, the competence of various staff to carry out these tasks and the process, courtesy, the credibility, the reliability, the responsiveness, how fast customers are actually dealt with, even if you think about the customer cycle within accommodation services, pre coming into the hotel, arrival at the hotel, occupancy, and then departure. The security, tangibles, understanding, knowing the customer, which leads on to the expected service and the perceived service at the same time, which results in the perceived service quality, obviously being affected by the personal needs and the past experience. So if we look at it, then what does standardization mean to you? Why do we have standards? How important are they to the customer and to the staff? And which operations rely on standardization? I mean, for me personally, I think that all the operations within a hotel rely on standardization. And if we go back to the question, what do we mean by standardization? It's standardizing the process, the operating systems, standardizing the standard and the quality that you want to give. And you need to standardize it to meet certain levels, certain, customer expectations. And if you don't standardize it and you don't meet it, then how do you know you're actually meeting the needs of the customers? So hence the reason why in all the areas, in all departments, you kind of need standardization. And some people may not agree that you need standardization all over, but I believe that you do need standardization of policies and procedures and processes, because then you become more efficient and effective, and that way you kind of adopt a philosophy of CI, continuous improvement, where you are continuously improving things for the betterment of the for the company to be more productive, more efficient, ideally meeting customers' needs. So we're looking at quality standards. So quality standards relate mainly to the following areas. They relate to methodology, the measurable of the standards, interchangeability, technical and technological definitions, health and safety standards, quality standards, important, the image and protection of the economic interests of the state. So, and fair competition on the marketplace, for the specific purpose of safeguarding the interests of citizens and consumers. In a free market environment, this last category is obviously the most controversial and requires a carefully balanced approach to avoid disturbing the mechanisms of competition. But so, you do need these quality standards in business. I can actually remember when I was working for my first company called Metro Products, and it was a manufacturing company selling mechanical security devices into retailers such as Halfords, B&Q's, Texas. And in the early 1990s, the government passed legislation saying that manufacturers in the UK had to meet certain quality standards in order to sell on to the retailers, and retailers wouldn't be able to take on any manufacturer's products unless they had the appropriate quality standards. And the quality standards at that time for the manufacturers was BS 5750 quality standards and mechanisms inside a company's own policies and procedures. And this later led on to ISO 9001, which went on to ISO 9002 and then reverted back to ISO 9001 quality standards. So, by you introducing quality standards and within your industry, you actually increase and make your whole industry better in terms of meeting the needs of customers who are going to be buying those products. So, quality standards, are absolutely important for any industry sector. Business process. A process is a set of logical related tasks or activities performed to achieve a defined business outcome. Physical, manufacturing process, informational, college course, and monetary, paying a supplier, business processes, different processes happening throughout different parts of the business. When we look at here, a process map identifies the specific activities that make up the information, physical or monetary flow of a process. And this gives managers an overall, picture of the whole process. And maybe the manager will be able to look at this and perhaps redefine things and restructure things to make the process even more efficient and effective. Okay, so we're not saying that this is the final one. This could be a startup point, but as you normally work and you gain more experience in a specific area, you always find ways of improving things. You always find ways of doing things better. So maybe over a period of time, this process map could change. An example in terms of the bath in the Ritz Charlton housekeeping system, cleaning the bath, relock the bath, strip the bed, make the bed, empty the trash, dust the rooms, check the closet, vacuum the room, update the status, and then exit the room. So even though you have kind of like a guest room attendant workflow chart in terms of what needs to be done, even within each one of these areas there would be an operational procedure. And not only would there be an operational procedure, there'd be minimum standards and expected standards that should be met to say that that was acceptable in order to meet the needs of the customer. Again, here's a process flow mapping symbols. Again, this can be used, these symbols can be used in terms of green the activity, and then blue the decision point, light blue decision point, and dark blue the start stop. So we can see, in the light blue, decision point where you approve, disapprove, accept, reject, yes or no. And if it's no, then you go back around again until it has boiled. In terms of the process flow chart here of grab the kettle, boiling the water, pouring the water into the mug, getting the drink, and the end. So again here you would undertake this for every part of functions within every single department in order to show the way things should be done and the process and the flow. Why? Because you've been doing this for such a long time. You know what process you should take to get the maximum efficiency. And later on you can start to develop these and add or change things at certain points. Maybe it doesn't necessarily mean you will change it, but that is a starting point, and then within each one of those parts you can then add in quality standards. Definition: standard operating procedures. A standard operating procedure, SOP, is a set of written instructions that document a routine or repetitive activity followed by an organization. The development and use of SOPs are an integral part of a successful quality system, as it provides individuals with the information to perform a job properly and facilitates consistency in the quality and integrity of a product or end result. Because what this is all about ultimately, again, is meeting the needs of customers. In terms of accommodation services and the guest experience, is making sure that the guest comes away feeling completely satisfied and happy with their whole experience at the hotel, and having all their kind of expectations met at all different parts of the hotel, not just one part, but in all different parts of the hotel. Therefore, thinking about the LTV, the lifetime value of the customer, so that hopefully they come back, hopefully they tell their friends what a nice time they had, and that might influence their friends to also want to come to the hotel. Process map to standard operating procedures. A process map is the overall picture. Standard operating procedures go into detail within each aspect of the process map. So if we look at the process map in terms of the host seats the guest, so the SOP, the standing operating procedure, in this instance might be first, determine the number of guests, determine which service sections turn, it is, pick up menu and wine list, okay, show guest table, give out the menu and wine list, introduce the specials, inform of any changes to the menu, and hand over to the server. So the shift checklist, all of the tasks to be completed on a shift, okay, usually written in the order which the tasks should be completed. Reminder of tasks which should occur, particularly if some are weekly rather than daily. Shift checklists and SOPs. So the shift checklist shows the job that needs to be completed. The SOPs shows the detail and how the job should be completed. Development of SOPs, why? Because this cements the standards, ensures brand consistency, and meets various technical models. How? Giving employees ownership, makes them commit to the standard. Management trick, guide the employees to creating the standard that you want. Leading the training and writing sessions means you can guide the process. So as a group task here, based on what we have learned about the housekeeping department, can you create a process map? Can you create a shift task list? And can you create a standard operating procedure for each task? So in conclusion, we can see we've kind of looked at standards, business processes, standard operating procedures, shift checklists, and how to develop standards and procedures. And built in with all these standard operating procedures and checklists and developing standards and procedures comes in other tools and other methods, and tools like total quality management. And within total quality management, there are various tools, including tools for generating ideas like checklists, scatter diagrams, cause and effect diagrams. You have tools for organizing data, flow charts, perpetual charts, and tools for identifying problems, histograms, statistical process control charts. So you have all of these things that should be used in terms of total quality management to either identify problems, organize data, or generating ideas to make things better. So these need to be incorporated within the different departments and that the operations manager will control in terms of accommodation services, and it needs to be improved upon over a period of time, and standards need to be set, but the right tools need to be implemented in order allowing people to have this information. So thank you today from Mr. Tan.